Why is it up to us to learn their system? It exists, so if I want to grow up, I have to learn a basic amount. We're also talking about creating something where you can create a new registry and new evidence pulls you out of that system.
Even if you do register with land titles, the title to your house or vehicle, your name is already attached as property of the state.
Project override.
The beginning.
Session 8.
Session 8.
Project Override.
Project Override.
So what are we talking about today?
Bonds.
Bonds, liens, titles.
NFTs. Damn.
We're getting fungy.
Right, so bonds. Guarantee of performance. A money guarantee. We know of office officials in government. They are bonded. They have surety bonds, performance bonds. Maybe there's a big construction project. The construction company needs to be bonded, have performance, labor, material, payment bonds. There's bonds everywhere.
Yeah.
Bonds when you're born, possibly.
Strong indication.
Right.
Debatable.
Debatable, but you know, we're bonded at birth. Birth certificate could be that representation of that. The future potential of labor is leveraged by private bankers and loaned to our country with interest back to us. It's interesting.
Thus, we're creating the very fiat money system that's keeping us enslaved through our own energy.
Right.
Interesting thing to think about.
Sounds like the Matrix.
Yeah. Sounds a little bit like indenture.
Ooh, indentured servitude.
Yeah.
Are you saying this is a slavery system?
I'm saying the evidence is there.
Right.
We'll leave it at that.
Well, maybe it's, instead of getting too extreme, we can just say it kind of gears a little bit towards a degenerative system.
Yeah. Which again brings us back to the core principles of the Project Override concept, which is that regenerative, benevolent, of service, you know.
Right.
So these are the core principles we're looking at working with. So whether we fully understand these things or not, they exist. And they're tools that we can utilize in transferring the current system into something new.
Right.
And once it's there, then we have an open dialogue about what that looks like moving forward. But,
yeah, there's no need to have a negative charge against bonds either, because we know that most people in finance, a traditional form of finance, they're trading bonds every day. And that's a safe asset and believed to be, you know, a good investment. So we don't have any inherent negativity towards bonds, but we're just opening the discussion to see, you know, if our money is backed by nothing other than fiat, the word shall make it so, government decree, the government is leveraging some sort of energy somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah. And so navigating through that, their system, this degenerative system we're looking at, they have other aspects that we have avenues to correct the position we find ourselves in. There's no way the system can survive if it's keeping us in perpetual slavery. There has to be a way out. And I personally believe those are built in, because if they weren't built in, they'd be essentially breaking some sort of universal law.
Yeah.
So there's a personal property registry in British Columbia here, and this is a place where you can register security interests and file liens. You can file trust indentures, and a lien is really a charge upon real or personal property for the satisfaction of some debt or duty ordinarily arising by operation of law. The classic example is a mortgage.
Yeah.
And so through that mortgage, the bank has put a lien on that property, the house, and then every time the principal is paid down, I worked as a subcontractor for a law firm, and I was just courieing documents from the law firm to land titles, and so I was able to see the discharges happening on people's mortgages. Titles There's titles of authority. We got the Holy Prime Minister. We got the Attorney General. We have postmasters, titles of authority. We have clerks of court.
Yeah.
There's varieties of titles, but then there's also titles to property. And I think this is a big one because we're all assuming that if we go to land titles or we register a vehicle, that this is a place to register our ownership.
Yeah. Does it actually work that way though? Is that what's happening?
I'm not too certain because it comes back to the birth certificate for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the body essentially in their system is a piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore there has to be evidence of title to that body, to this body here. So in their system then, if you haven't shown that you're the owner of that body or the title to that property, the name, then even if you do register with land titles the title to your house or title to your vehicle, your name is already attached as property of the state. So therefore the house, the title of the house, the title of the vehicle becomes the state's.
Mm-hmm. Is that how they create their trusts?
In a way, yeah, their own trust that you become trustee on,
Yeah.
and you have to pay licenses and fees and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So property tax is a big thing, right?
Property tax is huge. We were talking earlier, and I was saying that we had family friends who inherited a property, been in their family for a long time. They owned it free and clear. And because of inheritance laws on these property taxes, they lost their property. And they were basically forced to pay such hefty amount in inheritance tax that they couldn't keep it. And for me, that was like a driving principle that helped, that just showed me that there was something inherently wrong or corrupt with the way the system is operating, because what gave this municipal governing body the right to tax somebody out of the land they own when they've had it for, however long that is. I mean, yes, this gets into bigger issues of, the First Peoples, and we're not addressing that. We're just simply talking about the way these systems work.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's degenerative.
yeah, it's degenerative. It takes away, right?
Yeah.
And why should we be required to learn the crazy skills to navigate that shit
Right.
so that we can break free, so we don't pay those taxes,
Right.
so we can find the loopholes, so we can evidence the claim of our titles? Why is it up to us to learn their system?
Right.
Well, I think there's a responsibility there
Mm-hmm.
in terms of it exists. So if I want to grow up, I have to learn a basic amount. But we're also talking about creating something where you can create a new registry, a new evidence that could be tied to your ID, that pulls you out of that system. So maybe you could speak to
Right.
how that might happen.
Like rearranging the trust relationship
Yeah.
and evidencing the rearrangement of that trust relationship.
Yes.
So when we're speaking about that property tax example, well, it's being taxed. The property, from my comprehension, is in public, and there's income being produced, or there's a valuation, and therefore a property tax needs to be paid. If the property itself was transferred out of public into a private sphere or trust, the property tax, the property is no longer on the public property tax rolls, therefore it couldn't be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other example would be, it's under the municipality, the jurisdiction that the municipality operates under. If we evidence moving the property in some sort of dominion claim out of the Crown's jurisdiction, that municipality's jurisdiction, into a new jurisdiction, the enforcement mechanism, the people that have to come by to tax it, that property wouldn't show up on their computer screens that there would be an amount owing.
Yeah.
So that's done through land titles traditionally. The registering of titles to property, evidencing ownership. And so if we're looking at the current technology and registries, we can look to public blockchains, a blockchain that you can, it's open to the public, you can see that, and you can evidence creating a new trust relationship with the government.
Mm-hmm.
You can evidence a new contract in private or with a new jurisdiction and log that on a public blockchain. Now, again, these blockchains are just ledgers, and this is similar to a registry. It's just a ledger. A lot of these government functions simply are filing paperwork or moving contracts from point A to point B. So this is kind of where we move into NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that land titles registry, I imagine that there's going to be a serial number on the title to the house. And when you're referencing said title to your house, you'd be referencing that serial number. It's unique. And this is pretty much the boiling down to the basics of an NFT, a non-fungible token in the blockchain space. This token is a digital asset, and it being non-fungible means you can't exchange it for something else. It has a unique value to it. And so we could say that you could put title to your house as an NFT. You can put a trust or evidence of a trust or a trust contract into an NFT. They are unique and you can value them. We can log these NFTs onto a blockchain. Well, they do exist on a blockchain. So depending on the registry we're using, the blockchain we're using, which could be or could not be recognized by some sort of sovereign system, a sovereign First Nation, a sovereign jurisdiction that exists worldwide, that is not the one that currently runs in your country, or the obsolete form that's totally corrupt and degenerative. These are all options, but whether or not it's recognized by those parties, we are unaware of now.
Yeah.
The point is to create a more efficient system where people essentially get full closure on what they're doing, and there's a process to guide them through without the use of lawyers.
Yes.
As you said, with the inheritance thing, did you mention the fact that you could have put your name on?
No, I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Let's hear
Well,
that.
yeah, that was an interesting. I mean, one of the smallest workarounds that they highly discourage families from doing is you could place, if you are currently the owner of a property and you have children, you can just place their names directly on that title. So you go into an office, you pay a fee. It's a smaller fee than the inheritance fee, I tell you that much. And then your children are on that title, and it's a way of circumnavigating that inheritance.
The inheritance tax.
Yeah.
So there's these things, and again, it's discouraged because the lawyer wouldn't get paid.
Well, yeah.
It would-
The province wouldn't get those tax dollars, right?
Or that as well, right?
Yeah.
So the system is incentivized to drain money, energy from oneself
Yeah.
for the greater entity.
The greater good.
So
It's for the greater good.
so with this the project override and these functions that we're talking about, the people to create a registry that can log NFTs that would essentially be contracts, titles to property, they could all have such separate valuations depending on who's valuing them.
Mm-hmm.
And that the process to creating that NFT is simple for people.
Yeah, I think we could kind of bring this session to a conclusion by just describing what we're envisioning in terms of like an onboarding process for people. So
Right.
like a step by step.
Right. So people don't want to learn about liens, titles to property, bonds.
We don't have time.
No one has time. They got kids.
Yeah.
They got a mortgage to pay. They got
Yeah.
all this stuff. So of course, way over people's heads when they got busy lives. So what we envision is, you want to get off the property tax rolls. There's a contract that exists in another jurisdiction. Okay, step one, go to the post office, get a registered mail envelope, send it to yourself. Step two, evidence that you've received it, right? Step three, use the current land title system to fill out their forms evidencing a transfer, right? And this goes along with exhausting legal remedy along the way. Maybe there's a different contract. Again, when we're talking, we're trying to be as jurisdiction agnostic as possible, depending which players see what we're proposing as valuable. And then step 4, step 5, etc. What we want is a simplified process. That person is just clicking next, 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 and they're being given closure on what's happening. And then they are now they have produced an NFT that's attached to possibly digital PDFs that evidence their trust, that evidence this new asset. And now this NFT is put into their wallet or their account along with their self-sovereign identity. And there you can show ownership over that. And that, of course, is on the blockchain. So I think that's maybe simple, straightforward, unless you have...
I don't think we could have said it any simpler. I mean, it's a complex subject
Right.
that we're trying to distill in a very short period of time, and I think that hit on most of the points.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was more geared towards private contracts, private property, these things that we're looking at that we hold for ourselves, our families, future generations. And so the next episode, we're going to be talking about more public contracts, societal, social contracts. They're usually put forward in terms of a constitution. So we'll speaking about constitution and, of course, the contract we exchange every day if we're using cash. Maybe we're unaware that's a contract. So we'll be talking about currency and constitution.
Yeah, you bet. It's exciting. See you in the next one.
Project overripe.